He has a pretty good comment about all this before they get into performative theory. The internet, as a medium of mass comm, provides a space in which gendered social issues can be given widespread attention. Information giving and interactional sites allow engagement and discussions of ideas outside the hegemonic gender discourse sometimes. Also, it provides a forum for voices that are often overlooked or silenced in society, for example, lesbian teens. Additionally, the internet allows for networking, establishing a sense of connection necessary for movements attempting social change. For example, the materialization of modern feminism is marked by the emergence of networks and contacts which need to be centralized which need no centralized organizations and invade a structure. Basically, the internet is a space of liberation for gender to be formed, conceptualized, and theorized about in as desirable ways, even as it also sustains certain norms, right? So it's both a place, a space that sustains already established problematic stereotypes, but also a place where we can break those stereotypes. And I've already sort of talked about performance stuff, but again, the big idea here is that we do gender, we perform gender. We don't have it, we do it. For instance, I'm trying to think of an analogy. Okay, so maybe does he have a lightsaber? That's pretty cool. That little things, but I didn't even notice that. No, never mind. So I'm trying to come up with an example here. Okay, so is this Luke Skywalker? Yeah. How do we know that though? Because he performs Luke Skywalkerness. He uses the Force, right? The Force is not there until yeah, it is. That's a stupid example. Basically, the idea is, again, there's no essence or natural whatever. We are all constantly on stage, and we behave in certain ways, we act in certain ways, we perform, and that's how we do, particularly in this case, gender. I'm a teacher, maybe, trying. If you're learning, are you learning? I'll learn you on up. I am not organically teacher. I must perform that. I do that. How do I do that? Through doing this online lecture, through, grading papers, assigning papers, creating syllabi, all these sort of things that I do perform teacherness. Same thing with gender. So that idea is really important because people are performing online. Okay, the first big, so they offer this sort of start of the chapter talking about gender generally and performance theory, performative theory, and then they move into these different contexts, different avenues, different mediums. And the first big thing is blogging. Don't hog the blog. So it talks about web blogs or blogs. Hopefully you know what a blog is. It's basically a frequently updated website where content, text, pictures, music is posted on a regular basis and displayed in chronological order. They're interesting spaces, incorporate both CMC and human-computer interaction, blah, 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 blah. Here are so a blog is like it's like a log, right? It's a little diary sometimes that's sort of online. But these are the features that it says. So the middle of page 305, I think, is really important. Again, here we're just sort of understanding what blogs are in the first place. It says two main features of blogs emerge. Blogs are updated frequently and updates are short, requiring minimal writing time, unless you have this long-ass blog. Linhart and Thoughts found that 30% of bloggers post at least once a day, 15% post 3 or 5 days a week, and 25% post 1 or 2 times a week. again, this is a little bit dated. It's about a decade old, so I don't know if the information has changed or the data has changed. Additionally, on average, most bloggers spend 2 hours a week blogging. The frequency with which bloggers post influences the depth of relationships they have with readers, as well as the strength of the online created identities, which makes sense. The more you're on there, the more, yeah. Regular contact between blogger and reader can build close relationships and create strong online identity by enforcing identity portrayals. So why do people do all this? There are several motivations. 6 motivations for blogging, the research says. Information seeking by checking mass media websites, so trying to get information. Convenience, it's easy to do. Personal fulfillment. Political surveillance, so you can see what's going on politically and other people can see you. Social surveillance, talk about social issues and other people, blah, blah, blah. Expression, affiliation. So, most important, the most important of all these motivations are self-expression and social interaction. Oh yeah, people want to express themselves. That's usually why people do stuff on Facebook. It's not so much for others; it's for you. I want to express myself. That's what Madonna said. That and again interacting with other people. But so this is why people do this. And sometimes because of disembodiment and everything like that, you really don't know who your audience is. So sometimes the audience is ambiguous. It says, therefore, blogging is the blogger's right to communicate within relationships as well as transmit messages to mass audiences. Therefore, blogging is the epitome of mass personal communication. Bloggers perform gender for their audience of readers via their writing. Readers can become familiar and friendly with bloggers after reading their post regularly and respond with their own performance and gender. Okay. So then they move into issues. So at first they start about, hey, generally this is what blogging is. Here's some motivations why people blog. Lots of blogs out there. Everybody has a blog. Now, gender. We do perform gender through blogging. How does that happen? Well, first it's done. I mean, blogging becomes a way for us to perform gender in the first place. Why? What we talk about, how we write, and all that type of stuff. And it does say that the research says that males blog a particular way, and perhaps females blog a different way as well. So males do it this way. This is what they say. This is what the research says. That males will tend to filter blogs with news and facts, not so much relational, social issues. Here's the news of the day. I have my own little weather blog. Snow is funny. No, I don't. But. So stick to the facts. Report talk. This is straight from Deb Tannen, a very well-known gender scholar. Report talk is this idea that males tend to communicate like a report, giving information, where women tend to talk in a more rapport way to establish some sense of relationship. This is more, okay, here's what happened. I'm offering a report for information. I don't care so much about creating a relationship. And then not too emotional, because men aren't supposed to be emotional. I'm emotional. There's Yoda. Well, he didn't come in.
I don't know.
I can't do Yoda.
Emotional I am.
Okay. But in any case, so one of the things I think is really interesting is health blog or health blogs as examples of masculine blogging. Medical blogs serve as a prime example. This is on the bottom of page 306. Medical blogs serve as a prime example of how men perform masculinity on blogs. Kovic, Lulick, and Brumini Bears surveyed medical blogs defined as a blog whose main topic was related to health or medicine and discovered that 59% of medical bloggers were male. 74% of the bloggers reported being motivated to post on medical blogs to share knowledge and skills, and 56 by the desire of gaining insights from others. It could be argued that males were more likely to participate in these medical blogs because of the nature of those blogs aligns with a masculine communication style. That is the report and the information. Allowing the authors to perform their gender through their blogs because men are more likely to write informational blogs. They also are more likely to be seen as credible bloggers. In short, male bloggers are seen as information transmitters and form blogging relationships based on sharing of information and the credibility of that information. This is John Wayne, Kirk Douglas, and he's saying, "Wait a minute, John. I think you have your facts wrong. My penis is bigger. Did you not read my blog?" So, manly blogging, all about information and credibility. Now, women and blogging. They say, and the first sentence in the next little paragraph about women and blogging is informative. Women, on the other hand, are more likely to write journal blogs or diary blogs. Such blogs describe personal life with internal content. So it's more of journaling than just sort of information. I mean, male blogging is like a brochure. You know, here's having an enlarged prostate. Here's what you need to do. Journal blogging is, oh, I'm sorry, you have a enlarged prostate. Let's talk about your prostate. Oh, okay. Never mind. No more Star Wars jokes. One thing one way that female bloggers perform their gender is through rapport talk and social bonding. And so these blogs are to create relationships more so than just disseminate information. And it talks about they use language that is typically used by women more so than men, says Deb Tannen and others. Inclusive type of writing, expressive, like including others, passive tense, cooperative, accommodating. And then it talks about issues of sex, object, and mother. So oftentimes we see these ideas, where is it? So it's all women, women blogs construct their gender identities using sexualized imagery and words, often while talking about domesticity and taking care of the home. This juxtaposed mix creates a unique female gender identity combining traditional views of women such as the mother and the sex object, which is very, very problematic, but that gets portrayed through blogs. I mean, blogs about sharing makeup ideas or fashion ideas and all that type of stuff. I see that stuff on Pinterest all the time. So, did you ever watch Leave It to Beavers? There's Beaver and his mom. Golly, Mom, your blog is just about cooking. May I go look at some online porn? June responded, not before dinner, Beaver. Because the end of this chapter is all about porn, cyber sex. But in any case, so it's really interesting how men and women blog differently. And thus perform gender through these blogs. And that's the whole point of this first sort of section. I think, one of the things that they still talk about blogs, but they talk about issues of inequity and blogging. This is where it gets into women's movements and blogs. Because blogging sometimes is framed in particular ways, as we've said. And so there's a lot of stuff in here about, and this harkens back to the beginning of the chapter, that blogs can also, even as people performing gender via blogs oftentimes sustain stereotypes, we can also use blogs to combat those stereotypes. So blogging can be liberating and transformative. So we can say, oh, I can challenge issues of patriarchy and domination and